Welcome, everyone, to the Dragoon Slayer podcast. I am the Blue Dragoon himself, Daniel the Dragon, and with me once again is the incomparable family man himself, James Haynes.
Out of the sphere, here I am.
There you go, folks. And we've got an exciting episode for you. We have not a lot of wrestling content because there was no pay-per-view. However, we do have talk. We have the movie that we're going to be discussing, Toy Soldiers from 1991.
Yes.
We're also going to be discussing the last two episodes of Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And we will be discussing our overall thoughts for Invincible Season 3, among other topics.
Yep.
So let's just get right into things. So I want to thank everybody who's been contributing and responding to some of the TikTok shorts that they put out. You know, we did have a discussion on our last episode about movie theater going experience and it dying, and there's been some great perspectives come from that, and I want to thank each person who gave their perspective because they're right. You know, part of it is it's an unsustainable model going on for the movie theater.
Sure. Sorry, I have something.
We're losing Jimmy for a minute here, but no, I really do want to thank everybody because the experience that's gone on for the movie theater experience, the model, yeah, I do agree that the experience is not the same experience as it once was, but it's also the models changed, especially since COVID.
Oh, we got models changing, and we got to stop the presses on that.
Yeah. So,
oh no, you're gonna love this.
But wait, before you get to that one, you know, it's, you know, not only did they express that, but also people are complaining about the price of eggs being too high, and if you can't afford eggs, how are you gonna
chicken?
Yeah. How are you supposed to afford to go to see a movie for $15 or more just for a person? And that's not including snacks and everything else. So I really do want to thank the people who've been contributing. I do want to remind people that we do put up polls on the Spotify page. So when you want, if you go through the Spotify page, you'll be able to vote in the polls and take part in our different discussion topics that we have on there. And it helps us out a lot when you guys review the show, leave comments, and also on Facebook, Instagram, you know, all of our pages, like our socials.
Or email us at
DragoonslayerPodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with two O's. That's DragoonslayerPodcast@gmail.com. But we also do want you to follow us on our socials. But when you're on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, and iHeartRadio, making sure you leave us a review, drop a like, any comments that can be done helps people find the shows. On the YouTube channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe, you know, hit all the buttons, you know, and leave us comments. We appreciate them. It helps drive up the engagement in the show, and more people can find the show. Mm-hmm. Now, Jimmy, what do you have that...
you're going to love this.
All right, what you got there?
Now, you know that Alamo is on, not only on Staten Island, it's in Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Alamo Draft House, there were quite a few of them.
Oh, yeah, a whole bunch across the country. And remember, it first got started in Dazed and Confused to be publicized more. So I've been given one of these, which is a Fight Corporate Greed from Alamo Draft House. They're now on day 36 of their strike in the city and Brooklyn. Only the two that are union.
Okay.
All right? We are striking because Alamo illegally laid off 20% of our colleagues, affecting 70 different households who had no time to prepare. That's not good.
No.
Canceled their health insurance and are purposely understaffing to keep more money in their pockets, which hurts staff, the customers, and quality of service. An injury to one is an injury to all. We demand Alamo negotiate. They're asking to Alamo negotiate and stop the corporate greed. They're also asking people from Brooklyn and Manhattan to, if you have a season pass, cancel it. They want you to cut them off. They want help. All right?
Yep.
So, and they're with the UAW. You want to know something? UAW, about a few months ago, just fought with some lawyers that were doing pro bono work for special education, and they won.
Yep.
They won. They got them their contract, so now they're trying to win this. And now you see, we're right. This is getting crazy with the theaters and all.
Listen, the movie theater experience has changed, and we've got so many movies that are coming out. I mean, we've had a bunch of trailers that have dropped.
Yes.
And now, all right, now one of the trailers that dropped, I don't know if you saw it, the Lilo and Stitch trailer.
Oh, yes.
What did you think?
Oh, it's hysterical.
Yeah, that
is too funny.
I actually got choked up in the watching the trailer alone. The girl playing Lilo, I'm like, this girl's casting is amazing. Like, every casting so far that I've seen. Now, I know there's going to be probably some controversy because of, like, Ciampa and Pleakley, you know, trying to see how they do those characters because they are aliens. And, you know, there's also the whole thing of, I believe it was Pleakley constantly dressing in drag.
Yes.
So, you know, we'll see what happens there and if they've made any changes, which I really hope they don't change those characters because so far everything that I've seen just from that little trailer alone, that's it. I'm done. I'm sold on seeing this, and I'm not a fan of Disney live action remakes and stuff, but this one's got me. And I do have to say, just as an explanation, once again, for anyone who's confused, when we did have our discussion a few episodes back about trailers versus teasers, the trailer is giving you way too much information because it's not just telling you what the movie's going to be about, but it's showing you like real major highlights. The teaser's giving you an idea of who's in it, maybe what characters you might see, but it doesn't like really drive in too much. So the teaser's usually about a minute or minute and a half.
Yeah.
As opposed to a trailer, which can be
3 to 5.
Yeah, which can be giving way too much information. So when we say we prefer just the teasers and stop giving the trailers so much, I don't want to be overly spoiled. Now, Mike's not with us today, unfortunately, but Mike is somebody who he's okay with spoilers. I'm okay with spoilers to a point, but I don't.
Agreed.
But I don't want the movie-going experience to be completely ruined. So, as an example, going into an MCU movie, I want to know the concept of the story because I want to know if these are characters I want to follow. But at the same time, I don't want to know everything. You know, the spoiler for Red Hulk was a little bit of a spoiler that it was like, I feel they could have pulled that one back a bit. And if they would have held it back, it would have done more for Captain America Brave New World, which I still think is getting way too much unnecessary hate. The movie is actually a good, solid movie. Doesn't mean it's the best in the MCU, but it is definitely a solid take for the MCU and a new Captain America. And I will defend this movie because the movie is actually a good representation of stepping up the MCU into a new phase. It didn't seem like it was lacking a direction. It actually had a direction where, you know, most people were complaining that Phase 4 felt completely directionless.
It was empty.
And it really wasn't. There was plenty of things. It was just a matter of it was going off of an ending to try to restart into a new beginning.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, things got canceled, things got shuffled, things became from movies to shows, and shows to movies. We're going to see where all of that lies out. Now, I do have some anime news and recommendations.
Oh, also, did you happen to see the teaser for Happy Gilmore 2?
Saw the teaser, and I don't know how I feel about it right now because this is some big shoes to fill. We have multiple generations that love Happy Gilmore.
Oh, yeah.
So with everyone who grew up with watching Happy Gilmore, even people who've watched it later on, it has such a relationship with its fans that love it, and I'm a fan of Happy Gilmore.
And remember, Happy 316 is Bob Barker just kicked my ass.
Yeah. So, but it really breaks down to Happy Gilmore. I don't want to put too much onto this movie because it's going to raise up expectations maybe a little too much. And, you know, we've already lost actors that have been in the movie. Carl Weathers and stuff. So, you know, Chubbs is actually gone. The grandmother.
Chubbs is officially gone.
Yeah. His grandma, you know, that character, she was already an elderly person as it was. So her being in advanced years, we know she's not with us anymore. So it just kind of, we're not going to get some of those same characters that we would see. And it's been, what is it, like, how many years now?
About 20 years.
Yeah, so like 20 or more years.
And I mean, it's the third, even if you look, you want to laugh, the only person out of that movie that's gotten more work just from his character, Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Because
Ben Stiller,
he's going to be in that again.
I know.
He was in Happy One, and he was in Hubie Halloween.
I hate Ben Stiller's acting though. You know what? He was Mystery Man.
Tolerable.
No, he's not because he's playing the same.
Oh, yes.
Same character every single time, especially when you take a look, and the easiest one that aggravates me the most, I loved the movie Heavyweights as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, great Disney movie about a bunch of fat kids going to a summer camp for fat kids so they don't feel self-conscious and everything, and it's bought out by a fitness guy who's a nutbag, and it's Ben Stiller. And congratulations, I'm going to use that exact same character again for Dodgeball. So, and I didn't have to watch Dodgeball to know exactly what he was doing. So Ben Stiller and I have a relationship of, he's made a couple of good movies where I'm okay with, but the rest of his movies I am not a fan. And he could be a decent person, but I'm not a fan of his work when it comes to his movies, because the character work just isn't there. And it's a shame, because he's been in some good projects that had potential, but a lot of them were spoiled for me personally because I'm not a fan. And that's just a personal take. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who are going to disagree with me. And if you want to disagree with me, you can feel free to send me an email at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Send me your email and tell me if there's a Ben Stiller movie out there that you think would change my mind, and do not say There's Something About Mary, because that movie does not count in it really, because it
gets caught in the zipper.
Yeah, it pretty much does.
The only one I think is decent with him is Mystery Men.
No, the problem with Mystery Men is it's a terrible movie because it had a great cast, but a terrible script.
It was just funny. That's all.
I was really disappointed with Mystery Men. And the funny thing was, the main reason why I even wanted to see Mystery Men, Janine Garofalo is hysterical. So, you know. Now, but I do have my, like I said, anime news and recommendations. So now we're in spring. So spring is about to give us some new anime that are coming out, because Sakamoto Days is ending.
Yeah.
And this, after, as of recording, the Sakamoto Days' first half of the season on Netflix should be over, because it's only 11. Yeah, it's only 11 episodes, and that's as of the day we're recording this. So now they did announce there is going to be a second part for Sakamoto Days, I think later on this year.
We'll get back to you later.
Exactly. Sorry about that, folks.
Is that Roman Zimmerman calling for?
Hang on a sec. I gotta
Now we gotta pause.
All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. That is the.
Wait.
Oh God.
Go.
Sorry about that, folks.
Sorry, folks.
Unfortunately, that's the price that comes from being an older Gen X, where Gen X still probably has landlines.
We still have landlines.
Yeah, because in case of an emergency, you've got a way to contact, and that also is where all the spam calls go. Now, other than that, we had the announcement, because Devil May Cry is going to be coming to Netflix, the animated series. Now, unfortunately, Mike's not with us, because Mike would probably be interested in this, because Mike is not an anime fan. However, if you listen to the trailer that's come out, there is a casting that is in there, and it may very well be the last Kevin Conroy product that's out there.
Nice.
So he is in there. Johnny Young Bosch is doing the voice, I believe, of Dante. So this is one that I would recommend checking out. I'm highly looking forward to it, because there was an Devil May Cry anime that came out like early 2000s. It wasn't bad, but it was like direct to DVD. So I watched it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't a lot of episodes, but I think this Netflix one might be better. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. However, the big interesting thing is that just came out is the sequel to Ninja Batman.
I was just going to say, thank you.
Yeah, Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League.
Yes.
Now, I did get a chance to see it, and I actually like Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League better than Ninja Batman. And
you've watched it.
I watched it already. It's definitely worth a watch.
Good.
This is an anime recommendation. You can, I believe it's rentable on Amazon and everything if you don't buy the disc already, but it is absolutely.
I have to wait for Max then.
Yeah. So it is definitely worth a watch.
Good.
So, and it has alternative versions of the Justice League. So you're seeing like Yakuza,
Flash.
but Yakuza versions of Flash, Aquaman,
Wonder Woman,
she's a little different take on Wonder Woman though. But then you also have Green Lantern, but it's I believe Jessica Cruz.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's her Green Lantern, and it picks up after Ninja Batman leaves off. So if you haven't seen Ninja Batman, I recommend seeing Ninja Batman before you see Batman Ninja versus Yakuza League. And it is dubbed already. The voice acting is actually really good. The animation's not like hand-drawn animation, but it is definitely worth a watch. Now,
Yes.
let's talk about, since we're on animation, let's talk about our overall feelings for Invincible Season 3.
The last 2 episodes.
Now, let's start off with Invincible Season 3 started off with a bang. Now, like I had said in our initial, like when we watched the first few episodes of it, you know, the recap really helped like remember everything from the previous ones. We got to see some great character growth. You know, Rexplosion had like some great character growth there. You know, him and Shrinking Ray's relationship, you know, they did like such a great job. And then the voice cast alone, because they brought in Aaron Paul to basically play a character, blaming Invincible for the death that took place back in season 1 of his family members because of the fight between Invincible and Omni-Man.
Did that seem familiar to you?
Oh yeah, it was blatant. Like, it was almost a copy of Superman versus Batman.
Thank you.
Or Batman v Superman, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Either way, but the thing was, though, this was a real fight, though, because the Omni-Man fight wasn't just like a guy with superpowers versus a guy without powers. No, this was 2 superpower beings, just one is younger and less experienced and isn't as strong as his father. So we did get to see a brutal fight in season 1. Now, the animation style has changed, but that's also because they've gone through some changes to try to make their own animation studio. So I cut them a little slack when it comes to the animation, but the voice acting has been amazing. And then now we got to see, because it was an Image comic, we didn't get to see like all the stuff from the comics for the Invincible War, because we missed like seeing like all the other Image Comics characters coming in, like seeing Savage Dragon and stuff in the middle of these fights. We weren't able to see stuff like that, but we did get like a great like fight, the alternative versions of Invincible.
Yes,
like they looked amazing. And then of course you get to the last couple episodes, and within the last 2 episodes you basically got Negan versus Glenn round 2 by bringing in Conquest and having Conquest voiced
Jeffrey
Dean Morgan. Absolutely worth it. It was amazing. And it was a nice little turnaround, because after Negan kills Glenn, you got Invincible beating the hell out of Conquest.
Not only that, when he went and he injured Ivy, and then Ivy is almost dead. A phoenix.
Ivy? You mean
Poison? Adam and Eve.
Adam Eve?
Adam Eve. She did a freaking phoenix.
Oh yeah, her powers unlocked. She was able to basically resurrect herself, heal herself up. Like, Adam Eve's character is a total badass.
Yeah.
And I believe Jillian Jacobs, who is also on Community, she has done like such an amazing job with this character. The callbacks, bringing back, like, I believe, what was it, Zazie Beetz came back.
Yes.
So they had Amber's character. So they really went all out when it came to this one in bringing back the characters, reconnecting. They didn't touch too much on the space stuff after we saw like them try to execute Omni-Man.
I noticed that.
Yeah, they didn't go back there. But, I mean, we did get to see Hellraiser himself was the techno like civilization that was trying to fix Angstrom. So
yeah,
like this is like really badass. And we went through a minor version of the Invincible War, but we're getting ready for like really big stuff. So if they stick with half of the stuff from the comics, we are going to get some amazing content coming up for season 4. And not only are we going to see something really amazing, but I mean, let's face it, we're going to see a lot more bloodshed. And I think one of the cool things was, though, that they really went all out, especially during the Invincible War, because Rexplosion went out like a champ.
Oh yeah.
He pulled a gambit. So, you know, which
If you forgot, I have one more.
it's like what are you gonna do? You got nothing left. I got one more thing, asshole, and his skeleton.
Boom.
So to take out these guys and knowing that they are using the Invincibles that were defeated being turned into those like Cybermen kind of deals, I'm like, oh my god, whatever's gonna happen next is going to be a bloodbath. So now
Blood? I don't think there's a lot.
there's enough blood left. No, this is gonna
There was more. There will be more blood.
Oh, this is gonna be a Viltrumite bloodbath.
And I was actually waiting for his father to come down and help him out and beat the holy hell out of him.
Nah. This worked.
I know it worked perfect, but just at the end. And everything.
Yeah, but it was nice that it was good. That it was still Mark. It was Invincible doing his thing. That I think was what made it work better.
And Ollie comes out and says, "Get away from my brother."
Yeah, but not only did Oliver do that, but they had to hold down Aaron Paul's character. I always forget the character's name because he wasn't like a major thing, but if you beat the hell out of him, he got powerful. Yeah, so he went and he sacrificed his own wife and daughter to be able to go and like try to take his revenge on Invincible. And the problem is he actually has some legitimate gripes. So it's not like he's out there saying something that is completely insensitive off the rails. He is legitimately giving real gripes as to why someone would be against a hero. And it's understandable, especially in the world of Invincible, where there is massive amounts of damage done.
And then we'll hopefully see what Cecil's going to do next.
Yeah. And, I mean, Walter Goggins just keeps getting better and better as Cecil. Mm-hmm. So I am just like, I'm so happy about the casting for this one. So now, Jimmy, how would you rate the season overall?
Actually, it was amazing. It was a great job. They did a great job with the season and everything. I appreciate this more. Like I said, like I was telling some friend of mine who did Armored, Mr. Schwartz. Special shout out to you. I'm enjoying more of independent comics like Image and Josh Gad's the writer more than I'm enjoying the mainstream stuff. But I mean, Batman. But they basically brought an independent comic back to anything, and it's like telling people that Image, can we have Spawn back, please, too?
Yeah, but that's a Todd McFarlane thing. So
he was Powerplex.
Powerplex, yeah.
Aaron Paul.
Yeah. So, but still, gave a great. He did a great character run on this one. They brought in a lot of actors. So like
literally,
there is a lot of surprises. I don't want to ruin for people because I want you to be surprised for a bunch of the characters. And there's been some announcements for who's coming in the next season, but we're not going to touch on that because I really want us to.
It's like The Boys.
Yeah.
Who's coming in there, too.
Yeah, which The Boys, it seems like we're going to get a supernatural reunion in there, which I can't wait to see something like that. Now, other than that, though, we've gone and like Invincible did show like independent comics do have a greater range. And I, unfortunately, was somebody who I loved Malibu Ultraverse. Yeah. Unfortunately, they were bought out by Marvel and drowned.
Did you ever read the Dark Horse when they first came out with, they came out with whole series and everything? That's where Barbed Wire came out.
No.
And everything. It was an interesting series and everything that they did to introduce their comic line.
Well, you know which comic line, which I feel because we've got Power Rangers news that Disney and Hasbro are working together for a Power Rangers series for Disney Plus. And the showrunner is, I believe, supposed to be the same person for Percy Jackson. Oh, good. The series.
Yeah, the only thing they're coming for next year,
which will be interesting to see, and I'm curious. But the tone, the way they do things, I'm like very worried because Power Rangers has always been very campy. Now they're saying it's also going to have like a touch of like the Goosebumps series style, so it would be a little more adult, and dark. But at the same time, I don't want to wait like 4 episodes for them to morph. I don't want to wait to see like the Zords are going to take 5 episodes or whatever. It's like if you're going to do half hours, it needs to be a certain way. And I think one thing that it might actually not be so bad if they went and they just basically animated the Boom Studios comics, because the Boom Studios comics have been amazing, and they've told like an amazing story with Shattered Grid and like going through different series. So it'll definitely be something that's interesting to see if they could do something like that. But we do know that there will be a new Power Rangers series in the works with Disney Plus.
Good.
So, but my overall thoughts of Invincible, like I can't rave enough about Invincible. There's something about like what Amazon Prime has done with Invincible, The Boys. They're taking these comic franchises that even after they're done, because Invincible was done, and now we're getting a kind of an update to it, but it's also really touching on like they've made those like unique little tweaks to change some characters' genders to like make it fit to tell a new story.
Yeah.
Especially with the limitation of not having the rights to all those other characters that crossed over. Because there was a crossover where they actually had, I believe, Spider-Man with Invincible, and that didn't make it into. They went pretty close with season 2. But they didn't have what it was in the comics, where there was an actual full crossover and Spider-Man helping out Invincible. So this is one of those things where it's like Invincible's definitely worth the watch. Yeah. So, and at this point, you can binge straight through so you don't have to worry about missing anything. Yeah. If you haven't seen Invincible, there's Invincible seasons 1 to 3, and they have the Adam Eve special.
Yes.
So, and the Adam Eve special is actually worth watching.
Absolutely.
So now let's move on because we've got Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
Now, we both enjoyed the first 2 episodes. We got to episode 3, courtroom drama. Now, this courtroom drama did involve White Tiger. So we're getting to see a new character that we haven't seen before in the MCU because it's White Tiger. Now, the only time that I believe we've had any kind of animated like production of White Tiger was a different version, and that was in Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yes.
So that's the only way I was really familiar with White Tiger.
I believe there was one where it was Spider-Man. They had a young Iron Fist, Nova.
That was Ultimate Spider-Man.
That was and what do you call
White
it?
Tiger.
Fury was the principal.
Yep. Well, what he actually had as the principal, it was Coulson.
Yes.
But Fury was there because they were training Spider-Man to be the ultimate Spider-Man. Okay. And eventually they did bring in, I believe, Flash became Agent Venom. So they did have like a bunch of stuff going on in that show. But Daredevil Born Again is giving us the courtroom drama for an entire episode. So we're getting to see Matt Murdock be a lawyer in court.
And see Matt Murdock be Matt Murdock.
And he's defending a superhero, which I like the fact that he's defending a superhero while you have Wilson Fisk basically going and condemning all superhero activity. So episode 3, I have to give was absolutely great. Because of the fact that it wasn't your typical, like, we're expecting more action and like a fight. No, we're getting a courtroom drama. And you even got a little bit of the head-to-head picking up where Matt beat the shit out of the 2 corrupt cops. So it's like, all right, he gets to deal with him in court. So that really, to me, was like great because there's those little nudges there. And then we get to episode 4. And episode 4, we get the fallout after the trial's over and White Tiger's been killed. And he was just going out there to do his thing, went to go help somebody and gets killed. And
to the head.
Taken out. And now Matt's trying to figure out exactly what's going on. Fisk is still dealing with his wife in therapy.
With Kirsten.
Yep.
That's the therapist.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to remember, like, because that's the thing. It's like I'm like, I already know what's gonna happen. You know, superheroes have to suffer. Superheroes lose their love interests. So you know.
Oh please! I think even my wife saw that episode, the last episode. She's like, was Mayor Fisk sick of hearing we built this city in so many different places?
Oh yeah,
the kids, and then going to the Latvian
and the
embassy.
But you know what though? I love the fact that they said Latvia. They brought in in Latvia. So you're like, okay, there's Latvia. We're getting ready for Latveria.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we're getting ready. So there's little hints mixed in there that we're getting closer to Doctor Doom.
Yeah, because they even brought in Latvian days because one of his clients, he's trying to fight and get him probation. He gets him 10 days. And it shows, even as a lawyer, that he's got to, and he's like, yeah, he's not going to win every case.
Yeah.
He basically still lost this case, and
He didn't.
kind of pissed
The
off.
thing is, he didn't lose the case.
No.
He got the best the guy was going to get with the probation for the guy's record.
He got him 10 days.
Yeah, which was a lot better than what he could have gotten. The guy just wanted probation, and it was the guy's rationale behind it was very understandable, because when you look at the justice system as a whole, and it is a comment on the justice system where you see like people do unjustly get locked up, but they forget that life goes on outside of you got locked up. Well, he had an appointment with Social Security, and he missed that one, so he got screwed over. So him stealing a few boxes of
fiddle faddle,
which, like he said, I just wanted to taste something that tasted good, because he wasn't getting good food in prison. No. It was terrible food, and he's basically keeps getting bounced back into prison because every time you're trying to like get yourself back on track, the system is not
off the wagon.
And that's part of the problem, that they're making that statement about the justice system as a whole.
Yeah.
It needs a reform of re-educating and trying to fix the problems, not just incarcerate people, leave them in jail, and then treat them as slave labor to make them go and start going and making license plates and everything else, or work cleaning up the side of the highway. Yes, doing those things are part of community service for the crimes that were committed, but there's recidivism, I believe. Recidivism, where it's going back and you basically keep going back into the system instead of getting. If I'm saying this wrong and somebody wants to correct me, please email us, or you can leave us a comment on the video or on one of the shorts if this makes it into a short.
Or any of our social media pages.
Yeah, let us know. But I believe it's recidivism, and it's like getting put back into the system repeatedly rather than correcting the behavior and trying to put someone back on track so they can re-enter society rather than becoming a repeat offender.
And basically this even is an effect on their mental health.
Yeah.
If you look at it, because I was looking the other day, I was somewhere, and basically they talked about mental illness and how it affects people. And it's not only affecting adults. It's talked, and they're starting to adapt it on the island in the schools, a system to get help to kids that need it with mental illness and all. They're creating little focus groups and everything.
Yeah.
And all with the police, with the DA, with all these teachers in the high schools and junior highs, because these kids need it. Yeah. These kids are going from 6th to 7th. They need to get to 8th grade, to high school, and then they're going to high school, and they're going into these areas where their mental health is. They went from here to here in a matter of 2 seconds, because you're there with yours.
Now
a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah. Now, and Daredevil's making good strides in bringing this up, but in a subtle way.
Yeah.
Because he does bring back, because after finding the bullet that took out, so he found the bullet casing that took out White Tiger, he thinks and goes looking for the Punisher. So he goes and confronts Frank Castle. So, and Castle's not doing too good. Nope. He seems to be locked up in his own little world.
Castle looks like he hasn't had he hasn't missed a drink.
Missed a drink, but he's definitely missed a shower.
Yep.
So and a haircut. So it,
And
yeah, and a shave. So it's one of those things where we know the Punisher's going to be coming back. This is just a matter of like, hey, here's the character. He's still there. So we're going to see what happens with Castle and all of this. But it really, like, his character got a little more poignant talking about his son and like the tragedy and everything. And then by the end, seeing Fisk has Adam locked up, the guy that was sleeping with his wife.
And yeah, even the asked if Kirsten, the psychiatrist, asked, alone, are you having any problems?
Do you feel safe with him? And that's the thing. Yeah. She does feel safe with Wilson because he's not going to do anything to Vanessa. The problem is other people around her is a whole other issue.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get the final of Muse, which this is the first time we're seeing Muse. And even I had to look up the character of Muse using like blood and body parts to make artwork. It's a creepy villain.
Yeah.
So
you got to remember, the Hood also came out of, I believe, Daredevil too.
Yeah, Daredevil's got a few villains that are they're under the radar. Mm-hmm. I think Muse also dealt with like Spider-Man and stuff, but
of course it's New York. You got to remember, New York City was Marvel's.
It still is.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we also like Daredevil. This Daredevil series doesn't have one thing that the comics has that Muse was also a part of in the Daredevil comics, having Blind Spot, having a sidekick. So because there's not the sidekick, even though we got a small taste of Blind Spot being there in your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So they're bringing all these characters together
little by little.
And I'm interested to see who pops up in Avengers Secret Wars. Like, this is going to be something that all of these shows are going to start interconnecting and bringing in for what we're going to see when we get to Secret Wars and everything.
And even the Doomsday.
Yeah, Doomsday and Secret Wars. So,
and you notice one thing, that even Fisk is still, he's still against the hero. He's still against the
He was always going to be against the vigilantes.
And now he's got, and being in power, he wants them to be registered.
And yeah, so he's even looking for his own version of the Sokovia Accords to register these superheroes, but he wants them prosecuted. But not only that, like Wilson Fisk's entire thing, he's the Kingpin. Mm-hmm. Even if he's not acting as the Kingpin and he's the mayor of New York.
The Kingpin.
He wants to do things in the most corrupt way possible. So
without having his hands dirty.
Yeah, but look at what he just did. His entire plan in episode 4, he wanted to fix the sanitation issues that were going on, which sounds great, but with all the red tape, so he becomes more understandable because he's getting hit with the red tape and then telling him like, oh, you need surveys and you need this and you need that and you need it to get put on the committee first to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So having all of these legal things that he's got to deal with when he's like, he's not trying to union bust, but at the same time, he's
trying to do stuff without going through the city council.
And the problem is he needs to go through all the proper channels.
Yeah.
And he was reported he was basically union busting, which is what he was, because there is the Department of Sanitation, they have their union, and
firemen have their union, police have their union, etc.
But his idea was actually a solid idea,
and that was to help revitalize Red Hook.
But not only just that, but it was also to fix the garbage problem in the city, to clean things up, and it sounded like an actual good idea. The problem is, like his assistant pointed out, there's environmental studies, there's all these different impact studies, all these things need to get done, but there's a channel and a process, so it's not the same as running a business. So Wilson Fisk is a great example of somebody trying to navigate a political system that it's not designed the way you want it to work, but you have to find a way to work within it. And he's going to do the criminal way of doing it. We know that's how it's going to be.
And if you also, one thing that I actually like with the show is BB's little question Q&As and everything with the news.
Oh,
she,
yeah.
And she always catches that one guy.
Yeah.
And everything. Reminds me of Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
This old guy and everything.
Well,
and she is doing what her father
Yeah, she's
did.
Ben Ulrich, I believe.
Ben Ehrlich.
Ulrich, yeah.
Ehrlich.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's his daughter.
Yes.
Like taking up the
BB.
mantle, doing the reporting. You know,
And who's her friend Daniel in his office, who is, and it still makes me laugh that they got Michael Gandolfini to play the
yeah.
part.
Which it's kind of funny because of the fact too. Not only that, but when you actually look at the characters and everything that's gone on, these characters, they're almost a substitute because we don't have the Daily Bugle.
No.
You know, you don't have J. Jonah Jameson, who in the comics is always. It's like. The
He's
Daily,
everywhere.
yeah, this is like, okay, we needed a different news organization, so they're doing something a
You need
little
a different
different.
way to spread the news.
Yeah, and they found a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
Very similar to like if you played the Spider-Man games on the PlayStation for Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, what did they do in there? You have like the news reports, so you have like the bloggers and stuff talking, so you're getting like the radio shows and everything, which I think was a great idea, not just having the Daily Bugle and like seeing like the newspaper or like whatever, if they update it to like, hey, here's our news web show and stuff. So they've done a great job with that, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going.
Yeah.
So right now, Daredevil Born Again just keeps getting more and more interesting, and I hope that it continues in the same momentum and the same drive. Now, we do have to discuss the movie that we talked about because this is our main topic, and it's the movie Toy Soldiers from 1991. Now, I enjoyed this movie.
Yes.
But at the same time, you also realize this movie started before the school shootings. So when you look at the movie, you have to look at it in the context of this was a terrorist act at a school before Columbine, that then we started with more mass shootings at schools. So this one really is going to affect people. So there is, I can pretty much say, if you're trigger warning, if it's something that you're affected by, it may not be a movie you want to watch.
Yes, we apologize on that,
But and the thing is too, watching the movie, I remembered a lot of it because I haven't seen it in so long, but I forgot who the villain is, and I'm looking at the villain, and I'm like, who is this? And then I realized exactly who it is. It's the Wishmaster.
yeah.
I completely forgot, but he just doesn't look like him.
No.
It was a weird villain though. It's like the look and everything, but basically the entire premise is a drug dealer from another country is apprehended,
Colombia, I think,
Colombian drug dealer arrested, brought to the States for prosecution, and his son, I believe.
Is that the reject school?
Yeah.
As it's known.
No, the son of
no.
the son of the drug dealer is trying to get his father back, and he's using a school of rejected kids who their parents put them into the boarding school and their parents all have like some political ties and stuff. They're using them as leverage. Trying to use them as leverage so that this way they're able to go and get his father out of prison.
Yeah.
And now you've got Sean Astin. You've got
Whose father's in construction? What's your father do? He does construction.
yeah, but he was a #1 contractor for like government agencies and stuff. So it was like but he's a contractor. It's like that's all he did. You ask a kid, what does your parents do? They pretty much are going to give you the vaguest thing. They're not going to be sitting there going, oh, my father's the head of a large conglomerate company of blah, 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 blah. Like, no. You had Will Wheaton, whose father happened to be a criminal.
Who happened to be Jerry Orbach.
Yep. So, I mean, this movie had like an amazing cast. Louis Gossett Jr. as the head of the school. So,
well, he was the dean.
Yeah, the dean. But
he was
still the head of the school at that point.
What he called was the headmaster.
He was the headmaster, but he was more teaching classes as opposed to the dean who's not teaching classes.
No.
But,
who was sniffing them all out.
Now, Jimmy, you want to give an overview for the movie?
basically the overview of this movie, which I enjoyed, and everything it's that these kids knew they were all Regent. They knew how to run the in and outs of their school, and granted, they all got in trouble. Why? Because they were all troubled kids, and everything. They all had to do pots and pans. They all had detention. They all had the lovely vodka smelling, non-smelling
Mouthwash.
which and they at the end they finally they turned the tables on the terrorists.
Yep.
Very carefully, very smoothly, and all with everybody there, including Yogurt, not Yoda or yogurt from Spaceballs, but Yogurt. And this kid was a smart kid.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, do this."
Replacing the chip for the detonator.
It's a red chip. No, there's blue here. Okay, take that one then.
Yeah, I mean, there were some acts of violence in this movie and stuff that it's not on the same level as Red Dawn.
No.
But the violence that is in this, I mean, you get to see Sean Astin getting beaten for coming in late, and he got hit with, basically it was like an antenna.
Yeah.
Like, and you could
Those little pointers.
Yeah, the extension pointers.
Yeah.
Before laser pointers, it was a little thing of an extension antenna, kids.
Yes.
That basically like
The nun used and beat the crap out of your parents or your siblings.
well, nuns
If you
use
went to Catholic
the
school.
nuns use a ruler.
Oh yeah, they use this too.
Yeah, but no.
If
So
you've seen it in what was it? Blues Brothers 2000. The penguin pulled out.
yeah, let's not discuss the Blues Brothers 2000.
That's a whole different Megillah.
We talk Blues Brothers. We talking Blues Brothers, not 2000.
Yeah.
You know, but no. But this movie though, it's like you saw, like you could see, and it's one of those things where I saw it, like noticed it very quickly, like the lashes on Sean Astin's back, like you saw them from that very quickly, and it was like. He sold it. Like as a young actor, he was doing an amazing job back then. And the fact that he's still acting to this day is amazing because he's kept his career going and he's been in some iconic roles. And this is one of his lesser known roles. Will Wheaton did an amazing job in this movie. Although I will say his Brooklyn accent was pretty pathetic. Will, if you're out there, yes, I got rid of most of my Brooklyn accent, but yours was not good back then. I'm pretty sure by now you can probably do a better one.
And you can email us to give us your opinion at
DragoonsLairPodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's DragoonsLairPodcast@gmail.com.
Please email us, Will.
Yes.
Will Wheaton. Thank you, Stewie.
Yeah, but no, so I mean, you had like a great cast in this one. So, and Louis Gossett Jr., I believe, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And I mean, now
Even Arlie Emery.
Yeah.
Was
General. Like this had a great cast. It wasn't a long movie, but it was a good,
about an hour 51 minutes.
Yeah. So, and this is what I was saying before.
That's the 80s. They basically went to 2 hours. Well, if it hit 2 hours, okay. If it went over maybe 5-10 minutes, no problem.
But it was very rare that a movie went over 2 hours.
I think maybe the couple of movies that went over 2 hours back in the 80s was Ragtime, Reds. That was about it, maybe, give or take.
And I think some people lost the, like when we were discussing about like the movie run times and everything being too long. Like people wanted to try, we're talking in the comments about, no, movies have always been that long. Look back at like Gone with the Wind and all. It's like
that's 1939.
And also there was an intermission.
Yes.
If you were to see that in the theaters back then, there was an actual intermission, just like if it was a stage production, where you could get up, go to the bathroom, get snacks, go have a cigarette break, because it was okay to smoke back then.
Yep.
Yeah. So you were doing all of these things back then because they had lobbies. They weren't showing like.
Let's go.
But also the movies, they didn't have, these theaters weren't showing as many movies back then as they are now. You know,
well, actually, if you look,
they weren't a multiplex.
No, they weren't a multiplex. I always remember my mother and my aunt and uncles always going on Saturday.
Yeah.
A nickel they'd go at 12. They'd see a couple of cartoon shorts,
Yep.
a movie, and that was it.
Yeah.
And they got out of there by 4 o'clock.
Yeah, but the movies back then really were like, if you saw it in a theater, the theater had maybe 3-4 different screens. It wasn't one where it's like you've got 4 showings of one single movie just starting at staggered times, and then you have 4 different other movies playing all in the same row.
That only started in 77 with, I think it started with Jaws and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that was it.
But that's the thing.
That was back
when
then.
the movie theaters have expanded over time. So and
Multiplexes and all that.
yeah, so you've got so many options. But like people have pointed out in the comments on the TikTok shorts and stuff, which I appreciate. Once again, everyone who's doing that, pointing out the fact that, you know what, you can see the movies at home in a controlled environment. I agree completely with that one. I don't like going to the movie theaters anymore where I have to go and have a bunch of kids pulling out their cell phones, or even grown adults pulling out their cell phones.
Smelling the theater of Ben Gay.
Yeah, or smelling somebody's feet because they take their shoes off during the once they get there. I go back to going and seeing It Part 1 in the theaters, and I knew I was going to have problems when the couple that sat down right next to me, guy's girlfriend goes, she put the seats start to recline, her feet are up, she's got her camera out, and she's already taken a picture of her feet in the screen. Now, I'm sorry, but I already know this is not this is going to be a rough movie going experience. And it's a shame, really, because the decorum of the movie theaters isn't the same. Where Alamo Drafthouse, I've been to the one on Staten Island,
yes,
and they will make sure that everything is silent. They will bring you like your popcorn and everything and your food to you. They make it an enjoyable experience, and they try to make it as respectful as possible. So unfortunately, where some of them have had to go on strike is a shame, and I feel for them. And I support them because, especially if a union is striking, there's a reason why a union is striking. So it's a shame. But going back to Toy Soldiers, I mean, I didn't get to see this in the theaters.
No.
I saw it on a home rental because I went to the video store and picked it up. I think actually the first time I saw it I saw part of it when they showed it on television, so it was the TV cut.
Yeah.
Had to then go and rent it to see the full actual movie experience. So it was one of those things where, back then the theater experience was what it was. And if you didn't get to see it, you waited over 6 months or to a year for it to come out on video. Now it's only a month or 2.
3 months.
No, now. Now it's...
If it doesn't do good in the box office, it's out in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Less than 3 weeks.
Which was a shame because I did get a chance recently to see Love Hurts with Ki-Hu Kwan, and Sean Astin is in that movie. And I enjoyed the movie, but I saw it because it's a rental on Prime at this point, rather than because it wasn't in the theaters long enough, not let alone it got bad reviews, which is a shame, really, because I don't think it deserved a bad review, because the movie was actually a fun movie. I liked the way they did everything, and I wish I would have seen it in the theaters. I have the slight regret of not seeing things on the big screen, but at the same time, like people have said, seeing it in a controlled environment where, you need to use the bathroom, you can pause it. It helps so much to enjoy the experience when you can see it at home and you're not worried about other people. Although I will still be going to the theater because, let's be honest, going to go to the movies to see the Thunderbolts, going to go to see Fantastic Four.
And Superman.
Yeah. But also, I know I have to make sure I find a theater that's going to show it for Demon Slayer, the Infinity Castle, Part 1, because I think it's going to be like 3 to 4 movies, and they're going to come out each one a year. And
check with even Alan, because being that it's Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Check there.
Yeah, because
I know that because they just had the Gundam.
Yeah, the problem was that they didn't have because I was looking when it came out over the summertime.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't the summer, it was like the fall for Overlord. Overlord wasn't playing anywhere nearby. I would have had to have gone out to Jersey at a point when I didn't have the ability to get over there, so it was a little rough. So I missed the Overlord movie, which I'm hoping gets put on Crunchyroll or is released on even Netflix, because Netflix does have the Overlord anime series on there. Now, I know you've enjoyed Sakamoto Days, so far you're caught up.
Oh, I'm very caught up.
Yeah,
I can't stop laughing half the time.
We've got one episode left as the time of recording this. You're definitely watching. And the thing is, I know you probably missed it. There is the one episode where you've got the guy and the girl who are the assassins coming after him, and the girl is actually voiced by Alexis Cabrera. Yeah. So Alexa Bliss herself. So we've had 2 WWE superstars voicing characters in animation this year. And the funny thing is, Jolo from Cobra Kai is also one of the actors in Sakamoto Days. And he's the sniper. Invincible. And he did two of the characters in Invincible. So he's really branching out. Yeah. So the voice animation stuff is actually getting really good. And they've got top quality talent. And I'm glad to see that people are going and getting these opportunities, especially they're doing such great characters. And I do hope that in another episode of Sakamoto Days, we do get Alexis Cabrera comes back and she does her character returns and she does more, because she did such a great job with such a small role that I would love to see more.
Yes, agreed.
Now, with that wrapping up, Jimmy, what's the movie that we're going to do for next episode?
Thank you, everybody. The next movie we're going to do is Netflix just brought out last week, The Electric State, with Chris Pratt, Millie Bobby Brown, and a whole mess of lovely, beautiful voice characters of robots. And plus also Stanley Tucci's in it, and
Giancarlo Esposito. Yep. Can't forget Giancarlo.
No. He's getting himself around between HBO Max, Netflix, Disney Plus, Peacock. He
is everywhere.
Him and Walton Goggins are like, I have to say it. I know, but we're using it as an example. They're like shit. They're all around the place. I know. Sorry, guys. You can come.
Terrible analogy, and if you'd like to go and insult Jimmy for this analogy,
go to my social media pages. I don't care.
And where can they reach you on your socials?
You can reach me not Snapchat. Yeah, Snapchat. Take 2. Action. Snapchat James SI 0925, all lowercase. Instagram and Threads James H _the 4th. James Haynes the 4th on Facebook. TikTok James 0925. On our favorite page, the anti-page, the lovely, beautiful anti-page of Blue Sky, James 925.
That's right.
And I'd like to give a special shout out to a friend of mine of Movie Fan Pro on Instagram. Has a game out. Please go to his page. Give him some patronage. He's gotten some good movie reviews, and he's got a game called Movie Hop. I mentioned it last month. I got the game for free, being the first person to test it out on his page about a month ago. And we're still talking. We talk even about other things, including the World Cup coming in a few months to America. So we're having fun.
That's right. And you can find me along with Jimmy on Blue Sky. I am Blue Dragoon 13 on there. So you can find Blue Dragoon 13 on Blue Sky, Instagram, on TikTok. You can find the YouTube channel, Blue Dragoon 13, where you can find episodes of the Dragoon's Lair podcast, available 1 week after we drop on all of our other platforms of Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Podcast. You can also find me on Snapchat, but Blue Dragoon 13, where I'm only on there really to promote the episodes. So you can find me there if you really want to. Otherwise, you can find my Twitch channel, Blue Dragoon 13. You can, on all of them, you can find the link to the Discord page in the link trees there. So you're able to join up, become part of the community. Let's grow the community out so that this way we can have bigger discussions and we can have some community events. I would love to do more, but we need an actual group in our Discord page, and I would love to see you all there. Not only that, but you can follow us on our Facebook group and our Instagram page, which is Dragoon's Lair Podcast. So if you check us out there, make sure you leave a like, yell at Mike on there to promote the show, to push more, and ask him why he's not on the episodes. Question Mike is where he's at. Just because
Where you at?
if you miss Mike, send Mike a message and ask him, where have you been? We missed the hamster pellet. Where's King Hamster Pellet? You know, ask Hamster Pellet Productions, where is King Hamster Pellet? blow up his socials and look for Hamster Pellet Productions on Instagram, and make sure you go and send Mike a ton of messages, flooding him and saying, Mike, why are you not on the episodes? We miss you, Mike. Come back, Mike.
Mike
Wazowski.
Mike. Guess who's missing you? Guess who's missing you? The Dragoon's Lair Podcast.
That's right. And we will return in a couple weeks with a new episode. And make sure you follow us. We'll give you updates and let you know what shows we'll be watching. But you can guarantee we will be talking about the next 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. And we'll have some other shows along with that. But remember, Electric State, Daredevil Born Again, if you want to stay up to date with us. I want to thank everyone who's been watching the YouTube shorts, the reels, on Instagram and Facebook. Also, if you're watching on TikTok, any of the shorts there, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate all of your comments. I try to reply to as many as I can. It's been a little hectic, so I've missed a few of them. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're watching on a YouTube short and you're seeing this, thank you for actually checking out the show. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things in the sections and stuff so that we can help grow the following and get the show out to more ears and eyes. And remember, folks, if you want to see the Dragoon's Lair podcast, all you have to do is check out our home on Spotify, because that is where you will get your first viewing of the Dragoon's Lair podcast video version. Everywhere else will be audio until 1 week later on Blue Dragoon 13 YouTube channel, where you'll get the full episodes in the playlist, where you can watch all the back episodes that I have. We've lost the video versions of the earliest episodes, but there are plenty of episodes to catch up on, and we really appreciate each and every one of you out there. Make sure you go recommend us to your friends. Catch up on the backlog of the old episodes, because even though we're talking about stuff that is somewhat current, we have older movies that you may want to show to somebody and find a recommendation of something that you might like, something that maybe you might have missed.
Also, on the next episode, I'll give my overview of the Chocolate Expo that'll be at the New Jersey Convention Center.
Ooh, Chocolate Expo.
Yep.
Sounds delicious.
And let me tell you something. We went last year, and Mike TV and Veruca Salt were the guests. They had balloon structures of the whole Willy Wonka and the Oompa Loompas. This year they have Greg, Jan, Bobby, and little Eddie Munster himself is going to be there. But not only that, it's more than just chocolate. So, you can check that out on Facebook and Instagram. So, to get your tickets, it's only $20, and it's worth it.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to the Dragoon's Lair podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. And make sure you take part in our polls on Spotify and send us emails at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. We appreciate each and every one of you out there. And remember, folks, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now get out.